welcome to my channel once again. Omobeejay is my name. Omobeejay vlogs, and I love to create content about myself, lifestyle, gratitude, God, and every other thing that excites me. Returning subscribers, as always, thank you very much for coming. And if you're new to the channel, please do well to subscribe to the channel, and let's grow this little community of us together. And aside that, let's enjoy all this content. So today's video is gonna be about IELTS, IELTS, IELTS demystified, IELTS simplified. What you need to know about IELTS, general things about IELTS, everything you can think of about IELTS. Yes. So okay, yes. Before how many times am I going to say yes? Okay, yes. So I've got a little note on here so I don't get to miss out on some things. So if you see me looking down, it's just to ensure that I don't miss out on something I intended to say already. So I need to tell us that one. Everybody wonders what IELTS is like. Is it easy to pass? What do I need to know? What do I need to prepare for? I also had those concerns. In fact, the thought of IELTS alone was like, shall pass like this. Like it was enough to just make me not want to start the process at all. But like once you brought yourself to the point of you need to do this at this time, like just go for it. So yes, what is it about? First of all, I'll just define what IELTS is. IELTS is a test of proficiency in English, and the full meaning is I for international, E for English, L for language, T for testing, and S for system. So in short, International English Language Testing System. Simple, like the name implies it. What is it for? It is to test how good you are in English. Can you speak English? Can you hear English? Can you write English? Like you just test your ability to understand English and your ability to use the language and your dexterity when it comes to the use of the language, basically. Similar to IELTS, I would say is TOEFL. What's the full meaning of TOEFL again? I don't know the full meaning. I think I'll just put it somewhere. I'm not very familiar with TOEFL, but I know there is an exam also called TOEFL, and it is quite similar to IELTS. It's also testing for listening, speaking, in writing, and I don't know so much about TOEFL, but I know a couple of people who have used TOEFL. They had to use it for study in the US. So maybe US accepts TOEFL and does not accept IELTS. No, I don't think so. I know to relocate to the US as a nurse, you need IELTS. So I really don't know much about TOEFL, long and short. But TOEFL is also a testing system for English. So before I go into what this exam test is for, let me just talk about the types. There are two types. There is the general and the academic. And I would advise that before you go on to say you want to write IELTS, I understand that everybody just feels like IELTS is the first step, is the first thing to do if you want to japa. But yes, before you go on to write the IELTS, it's important that you know what you are writing it for, so you can know which one to write. The reason I would say this is because, for instance, to relocate to the US as a nurse, you need IELTS academic. To relocate to the UK as a nurse, you need IELTS academic. But to relocate to Canada as a nurse, I don't need academic, I need the general one. So if I think, oh, everybody is writing IELTS, let me go and write IELTS, and I end up writing general, and then eventually I'm like, I want to process this country, and they're like, okay, you need IELTS, and the requirements for that country is IELTS academic. General is not equals to academic. You have to write IELTS academic. So it is very, very important that you know what you want to use the IELTS for before you go on to write it. And the certificate you get after is only valid for 2 years. So if you write the exam without really having what you want to use it for in mind, it could end up expiring even before you get to make use of it. And it's not like it's a free of charge exam. It's something you pay for, and you pay heavily to write. So that's that about that. The IELTS academic and general, it's not like there's any difference in them per se. They're both testing for the listening, reading, speaking, and writing. The only difference between the two of them is going to be the reading and the writing. The listening is the same and the speaking is the same thing. And also, there is also something they call IELTS for UKVI. IELTS for UKVI is IELTS for UK visas and immigration. And then for IELTS for UKVI, you have the academic version of it and you have the general version of it. Just like the name implies, it is basically for UK visas and immigrations. So if you're processing the UK, for instance, and IELTS for UKVI is a requirement for you, you would have to write the IELTS for UKVI. Is the same academic and general, the same thing. There's no difference. It's just the name that is different, and it is more price. It is pricier. It is more expensive. It is more expensive compared to the conventional one. For instance, the IELTS for UKVI, as at the time this video is being made, I think the IELTS for UKVI is 97k, and the standard IELTS was either 75k or 73k, depending on who you are writing with. And that takes me to the next thing: who organizes IELTS? Two bodies are known for organizing IELTS. You've got the British Council and you've got the IDP. There is no difference. They are just two bodies organizing it. They have the same marking scheme, the same practice questions. Council is 75k and then the IDP is 73k. So it's not like it's a wide gap of difference like that. And what else about the two of them? Sometimes some people say when you write with one, you pass more than when you write the other, but I don't know. I can't say anything about that. I wrote with the two of them and I would say that there is actually no, they are just testing for the same thing. When you do your thing, when you are happy with your thing, you would be fine. And aside that, another thing would be, thank God I wrote it down. Another thing would be, in some locations you find that it is IDP that is organizing. In some locations you see that it's British Council that is organizing. So when you're ready to write and you look around, you might just find that in your states British Council is organizing while IDP is not organizing. Just check what works best for you, basically. Now let's discuss the exam proper. Now we've established that we have listening, we have reading, we have speaking, and we have writing. So the listening section, how long is it? The listening section is 30 minutes and you'll be given 4 recordings. You'll get to listen to 4 recordings. You'll have a headset and you have your question paper, you have your answer sheets. There are different types of recordings actually. When you begin to practice, you'll see the different modalities, the different forms it could take. So when you listen to them, you answer your questions. Basically, let's say you have about 7.5 minutes for each one of them, but the entire listening section is 30 minutes. And then we'll move on to the next one, the reading section. If you remember, I mentioned earlier that one of the differences between the IELTS academic and IELTS general is reading. The reading section, you are spending 60 minutes, which is equivalent to 1 hour. And for the academic IELTS, in the reading, you're going to have passages, I think 3 passages, university style, comprehensive long passages, and then you have questions after where you answer. Basically, you're going to be spending about, it depends, not the same number of time is allocated to each one of them. Some of them you have lesser, some of them you have more time. Whereas in the general, you could have just 1 academic essay and 2 or 3 other short essays that are not very long. But usually when people are practicing, even if you're planning to write general, they usually advise that you practice with academic reading, such that anything you eventually get in general reading, you'll be fine, because you've gotten yourself used to the longer passages and you finished in time and all of that. So it's going to do you some good. And then we'll move on to the next section, which is the writing section. Writing is also 60 minutes. And if you remember, I said the writing also differs in academic and general. In writing, in academic writing, in academic, you write in the 2 of them, maybe I start from the similarities. In the 2 of them, you write 2 essays. You've got task 1 and you've got task 2. Task 1 is usually 150 words, about 150 words. Task 2 is about 250 words for the 2 of them. So what are the differences? Academic task 1, it's usually an academic related essay. They could tell you to explain a process or a graph or a line graph or a bar chart. More like they want to see how you are able to use your academic terms, university terms, like comparisons, similarities, like let us know, oh, it doubled at this point, it's dipped at this. There are certain words they are looking out for. When you begin to practice, you'll see more of them. Whereas in general task 1, it's usually a letter of some sort. It will tell you gained admission somewhere, write a letter requesting for accommodation or something like that. Whereas task 2, for the two of them, it's similar. It's pretty the same thing. It could be some opinion essay where you'll be asked to say your point of view on something. Do you agree or do you disagree? Those kind of essays. They want to know how you are able to pass your message across. In writing, it's 1 hour, and in writing, speed is quite important. Speed, in short, for all of them, speed is important. But I think of all the 4, in writing, it is very much more important that you are quite fast in finishing up your both essays, such that you don't leave anyone. If you spend so much time on task 1, it would definitely affect your task 2. If you spend so much time in task 2, it would affect your task 1. So you have to finish both of them within the allotted time. So that is right. Speaking, for the two of them, speaking is about 11 to 14 minutes. It's the same thing, like they're asking you the same thing. It's divided into 3 parts. The first part, you get to introduce yourself, talk about yourself. The second part, you get a cue card where you're expected to talk on what is on that cue card for about 3 to 4 minutes, I think. And then the last part, you have questions following your cue card. It's about 11 to 14 minutes. So in all, the exam is about 3 hours, about 2 hours 2 hours 45 minutes, about 2 hours 45 minutes. But you should bear in mind that because it is 2 hours 45 minutes doesn't mean when you go to your exam center 3 hours later or 2 hours 45 minutes you are stepping out. It doesn't work that way. After you're listening, there would still be you are not leaving your exam seats, but there will be a break of getting to collect all the answer sheets. You know how exams go now. Before they will distribute the question paper and answer sheet for the others, for the next section, and then collect that one again, distribute again. So all those distribution time is not part of your 2 hours 45 minutes, or let me just say 3 hours to save us stress. It's not part of your 3 hours. So allow for more time for all of those things while you are going to your exam center or booking. And then on some occasions, I think that has changed now, and maybe not, you could have your speaking on that same day, like the day you booked, and it could come before. When I wrote IELTS, it used to come before, but I had a couple of friends who booked recently. I guided them through the process and all, and I think they managed to write it on that same day. But just inquire and ensure you don't miss your exam whenever it is. Another thing I would like to talk about is computer-based or paper-based. Yes, IELTS could either come in computer-based or paper-based. Computer-based, you are doing it on computer. Paper-based, you are writing, you are doing it on paper. Is it the same thing? Yes, it's the same thing. It's testing for the same listening, reading, writing, and speaking. Is it acceptable everywhere? Yes, it's acceptable everywhere. The only difference is the computer-based, your result comes out in 7 days, and for the paper-based, your result is out in 13 days. And I should also say that it's not all states that have the computer-based. It's just a number of places. So if your location has computer-based and you think you want to do computer-based, then please go for it. Just ensure you've practiced well with computer and you are type enough in fasting. Fast enough in typing, and if you're practicing for paper-based, be fast enough in writing, and make your writing legible too. Yes, so yeah, that's it. So now I'll just be concluding this video now with general tips. Like, now that Bolaji, you have told us about IELTS, so you have written IELTS before, so what do you have to say to me? I want to write IELTS, I am preparing for IELTS. What do you have to say to me? Okay, so number 1.